導かれてく In my large hand 願う高みへと至るその時は近い Give me an order my lord Oh wow 夜に描く欲望今宵その果てまで Oh sunshine 真実はどこにもないこの宇宙に決めた宇宙以外にドラの始まりに思惑は潜む Please the dealer I'm the dealer
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Shelves Have Eyes. I'm Phantom, and tonight we will be doing an unboxing and review of Blokees Transformers Model Kits Comic Version Action Edition Tarn, the Legend Series. Multiple weapon system, 333 pieces. In any case, my best friend gave this to me for my birthday, and he knows that I love IDW, even though he does not. And he also knows that I've been getting into Blokees. And so this seemed to be a no-brainer for him. So I'm very happy that I received this. Looking at the packaging, we have a very nice image of Tarn and Nickel on the front. On the side, we've got a different image of Tarn with his eyes lit up and his double fusion cannon. Nickel looking pretty much exactly the same here. And then we've got the back, which shows us all of the action points. Perfect color assignment. Human system. Exclusive accessories. Movable body. Exclusive play feature. And then on the side, we have the exact same thing. It's really just more of the same. It's interesting because this really is, it almost seems like Blokees is trying to get into the Gundam business, because that's really what this looks like. It's just a Gundam. It's just a ultra grade Gundam. And I mean, I've made my fair share of master and ultra and perfect Gundam models, so this should be fairly simple to do, I guess. I think the biggest Gundam that I ever did was a perfect grade Zeta Gundam that transformed and had light up features. So this really shouldn't be all that much of a difference. I do like the fact that just like Gundams, they don't say that you need to paint these. You can just assemble them. I mean, obviously, if you were to go out of your way and actually paint them, they would look better. But you know what? Maybe I'll do that later on, but I'm not going to do that right now. So let's open this up and get started. All right, so just like the smaller Blokees that I've been doing, it all just comes shrink wrapped in packages that you need to then unpack as you go. So before we do any of that, let's just take a look at the documentation that we were given. Wow, okay. This is going to be a major undertaking, I guess. We have the Tarn Comic Edition Action Edition card, just like the cards that come with the smaller Blokey model kits. So that's interesting. And this is just an instruction booklet talking about the battery, it seems. Battery replacement. So this takes watch batteries, the button batteries. All right, looking at the instructions. Got a very nice image of the same characters on the back. So we've got the runners list. That's an interesting way of putting that. The way of assemble this model. It's very clear. Find the number of part. Runner's numbers. Part number. Press the parts down carefully. Assembly the parts together. Finish. Okay. I like how the headings for these instructions are sometimes in odd English. Please, the way of assemble this model, find the number of part, press the parts down carefully, which is fine English. Assembly the parts together, finish. And yet the actual little description text here says, this product uses snap-off gates. Be careful of sharp edges when removing parts. So it almost seems like one person was in charge of writing the gross instruction, and then somebody who maybe spoke English better was in charge of writing the detailed directions. Symbols for assembly instruction manuals. Interesting. Make sure the parts are facing the correct direction and in the correct location. Okay. Bricks list. Very interesting. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be, you're going to assemble it piece by piece and part by part. And it really is just like a Gundam model. It's got an inner humanoid skeleton that you're going to put all of the pieces together with. And then you just assemble it out into different parts. And that's it. Except Nickel really is just a Blokees. A smaller Blokees thing. Just torso, waist, legs, arms, that's it. So Tarn is definitely something else though. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so it's interesting. Interesting. All right, so how about we get started? Come away with me on this model journey. Come with me, won't you? Whoa, let me tell you, these are all of the sprue boards, all of the little pieces that I had to go through with this. I'm sorry that I didn't get an opportunity to show you me actually constructing the model, but you have to understand, between, you know, adult responsibilities and children, this took me over 6 hours to build. Not only because everything in this booklet is extraordinarily detailed, there actually are some minor typos in it, but we're going to ignore that for right now. The issue here is the same issue that I have with any Gundam set, which is that the instructions are not broken down by board. All these boards are individually painted or cast in a particular color. That is the color that those resulting pieces are going to be. So for each individual step in the process, you need to get one from this board, one from this board, one from this board, one from this board, one from this board. And considering you're dealing with arms and legs, you have to make sure that you're getting the right piece. It was maddening, and it took me forever, but all of these trays aside, it is complete. The sound of plastic falling into containers, boxes. But what we have here in the end is this hulking behemoth. This is really heavy duty. This is, I would argue it's heavier than a Gundam. It is extraordinarily hefty. It feels heavy. Everything feels like it takes effort to move. All of these joints are so well machined. So what you are left with is this enormous bot and an excellent representation of Tarn, as if he just stepped off of the comics page. Even more than the legacy version of the figure. This really does put to rights what Tarn should look like. I mean, this thing is enormous. It doesn't transform, obviously, but the amount of detail that went into this and the individual pistons that you have to put into things in order to get them to lock in and to move properly. His arms don't really raise up, but he has a tremendous amount of flexibility in his elbows and his wrists. His head is okay. These kind of get in the way, his shoulder cannons. Yeah, he could deal with, he could do with some paint apps, but I mean, for the most part, he's really good as is. His fingers do not curl, but they do bend only at the first knuckle, so it's kind of a weird situation. He doesn't really have the ability to make fists, but for the most part, that's not really going to bother me that much. And we got this little nickel figure. Once again, non-transforming, but still really well done for the model as it appeared in the comic. Reasonably well articulated. She does only have wheels for feet, so they gave you these clip-in little dust clouds that keep her upright. The art on the front of the box seems to make it seem as though her arms bend in that particular configuration, but they do not, because if you put her hands, her arms flat the way that they're shown, she can't bend. The bend is only here, and it's only when you make that gesture. So maybe a little bit of false advertising, but I mean, nothing major. Nothing major. It's really good. It's a really nice likeness. I really like the tampograph details on the faces. Just overall, a really nice little version of the figure. And I'm happy to have it with Tarn. Like I said, non-transforming, but functional. She needs a little welder or a descaling tool to use on Helix. And she also comes with this little phone, this little outdated communicator that Tarn gave her in the comics so that he left a voicemail on it in which he recorded his voice so that if she was ever in trouble, she could use it to paralyze everyone that could hear the message. So that's a really nice touch. I really like that. So I really like the stand. The stand is very nice. It's kind of your typical Transformers Gundam stand. The claw is rubberized, so it does have the ability to actually grasp, which I do like. There is a little hole in the front where you can put the Blokees Action Edition fob, which activates Tarn's eyes. Very nice. Extraordinarily true to the comic. And then if you tap it again, oh my god, why can't I tap it again? Where does this tap? Now his eyes pulse, very menacing. And then if you tap it again, it turns off. So in terms of articulation, he's got very nice articulation in his legs, less so in his upper body, simply because of how large his upper body is. His shoulders, specifically. As you move them, this rocks a bit, but it doesn't give you enough clearance to really do much other than that. And like I said, he can't really make a fist. So he's just kind of like pointing with mittens. His waist rotates, which is very nice. Pieces don't feel like they're just going to go flying off, which I like. It feels very sturdy. His double fusion cannon is on this little weird track piece. I was just doing the dance. It's on this weird track piece. So he does have his dual fusion cannons, and the way that they are designed is that you can flip out the handle on one. And there's another handle here. I think you have to take one of these off. You take that off, and one fusion cannon slides into the bottom of the other. One fusion cannon. There we go. So we can have an enormous double fusion cannon that you can hold with two hands, or you can separate it into one. You can hold both of them in either hand, or you can do it the way that it is in the comics, where he has a dual fusion cannon attached to his hand. So a lot of variability in the way that you want to display him, so that's kind of nice. But yeah, so this is a pretty nifty, pretty cool little project that Blokees gave us. I would be interested to do other Blokees Action Edition models. I mean, maybe actually do them on screen rather than do them all off screen, because this one took forever. Which makes me think that all the other ones are going to take forever, because that's just how model kits work. But no, I'm actually really satisfied with this. I like all the little moving parts that he has onto his body. Like I said, the fingers are kind of somewhat bothersome, just because of the weird nature of the fingers themselves. I really wish he came with either curled fingers or a manual fist. But, I mean, that's neither here nor there, really. It doesn't do anything to change my opinion of the overall figure itself, let's just say. But, just for fun, you can see the pistons here. They actually rotate and move as you wiggle the ankle. It's a really cool detail. It was very interesting to put that one together. So let's just, for the sake of argument here, I don't know why one of his legs seems to be shorter than the other one. So let's just put him next to his legacy counterpart, shall we? So obviously you can tell one transforms and one does not, but also you can see the size difference. This is a current Voyager class figure. This is more akin to a leader class figure, just in terms of sheer size. Maybe even bigger, quite honestly. He might actually be Ultra Commander? Commander Ultra? Not Titan, certainly, but much larger. Much larger. I mean, Optimus himself is not that tall. The Studio Series 86 Optimus isn't that tall. So, huge size disparity between the two. But you can see that, I mean, Hasbro really tried. They really tried. There are concessions made in order to make it an actual transforming toy. If they were not under those constraints, if this was like a red figure, then you would probably end up with something like this, which is horrendously detailed. Just like detailed out the wazoo. I mean, his face comes off, his mask comes off, to show you his damus face behind. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this. I think it's a great project. I really enjoyed it. I would like to do more of them, I guess. I really wish he would stand up. I don't know what's quite going on with his legs. That one seems shorter than the other. I mean, it doesn't matter. He seems somewhat lopsided. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, because once you clip this to his waist, he's going to stand up straight anyway. Mostly, I guess. Anyway, so that is the Blokees Action Edition Tarn with Nickel. Size is right. She's supposed to be a mini-con compared to a regular Transformer, so I think that this is actually is correct. But let's, I've already done exhaustive lore on Tarn lore video section with Legacy Tarn, and I think I've probably put out shorts as well. But for this episode, we're going to do some Tarn on Nickel. Some lore on Nickel. So how about we get to that real quick? Nickel was born a minicon from the prion hotspot generated by the titular Titan bonded to Micronus Prime. She and the rest of the minicons lived in peace on their colony until the Black Box Consortia happened upon their colony and, hating all robotic life, destroyed it completely. Nickel was the only survivor of the attack. By sheer happenstance, the Decepticon Justice Division arrived in the area and rescued her, swiftly recruiting her to the Decepticon ranks with talks of revenge against organics. A talented medic, she quickly became the mother hen of the group, castigating them for ignoring routine maintenance, often with particularly foul invectives, and generally endeared herself to the crew. At some point, Tarn, realizing how quickly she had embraced the Decepticon cause and become an indispensable part of their operation, gifted her a communicator with a message recorded in his voice that would paralyze anyone within hearing. During a trip to salvage the engines of a derelict quantum duplicate of the Autobot ship the Lost Light, the DJD came under fire from both the Black Box Consortia and the Galactic Council. Outgunned, they were forced to leave Kaon and Voss behind during the retreat. Things went on until Tarn captured Blip, a low-lying name on the list who claimed to be a Spark Eater and incidentally was the brother of Terracon Blot. After which the long-bubbling hostilities Tesaurus held for Tarn came to a head during a round of performance reviews. The massive bot grinder took issue with how they left Kaon and Voss behind, leading to a fight with his commander. The conflict was broken up when the errant duo returned unharmed and carrying news that Megatron had joined the Autobots. Thrown into a self-destructive tailspin, Tarn brought the team back to Mesotine, where he attempted to overdose on Nuke, an isotope of nucleon mutated by time travel energy. But Nickel's distraught face brought him back from the brink. Seeing that a non-affiliated bot could so fervently come to believe in the Decepticon philosophy showed him that the movement had not been in vain, despite the abandonment of its creator and leader. Galvanized, he contacted rogue Decepticon warlord Deathsaurus, seeking to join forces to destroy Megatron. Deathsaurus, ever canny, suspected Tarn was laying a trap, considering he and his ilk were all on the list. He told Tarn they could join forces, provided the DJD leader kill his subordinates. Nickel was extremely gratified when Tarn refused, and passed Deathsaurus' test of metal. Together they hatched a plan to kill Megatron that involved luring him to the planet of the Necrobot. Once the group of Autobots landed, their shuttle was destroyed, and they fled to the Necrobot sanctuary, activating a storm shield. The combined Decepticon forces gave the Autobots until sunset to put their affairs in order. Nickel was present during the war meeting and for the arrival of Overlord to the Alliance, but was more than shaken when Tarn killed Kaon. When the battle began, Nickel used Voss in his sniper rifle mode to shoot Chrome Dome and destroy Megatron's new fusion cannon. When Tarn called Voss to join Helix and Tesaurus in their attack, the mini-medic fell back and assisted Deathsaurus. Unfortunately, she and the rest of the Decepticons failed to account for Senseers, the Necrobots' psychic weaponry, and, after Swerve and Rewind activated essentially a guilt wave, she realized that Tarn's obsession with Megatron was always more important than his devotion to the Decepticon cause. Kaon's death was the prime example of her leader and friend coming totally undone, and so she left with Deathsaurus and did not see her friend's demise. Sometime later, Nickel, now a commander in Deathsaurus forces, led Decepticons in a three-way offensive against both the Galactic Council and Black Box Consortia on the planet Freyas. Freyas held an old Decepticon base, Camp Conclave, that rumors held contained a secret stash of untrium, a nigh indestructible metal originally used to coat the endoskeletons of Decepticon Phase 6ers, like Overlord. These rumors brought the crew of the weak anthropic principal to the planet. As the battle raged, the scavengers, Croc, Misfire, Spinister, Fulcrum, Crankcase, and partially lobotomized Autobot Grimlock found themselves without their escape portal back to the ship, and dash through a suspiciously convenient new portal. Nickel, blown away from the battle, inadvertently followed them through to Troja Major. Finding herself stranded with no way to communicate back to Deathsaurus, Nickel begrudgingly joined the scavengers when Agonizer, calling himself the Curator, enlisted their help in finding the Magnificence. She joined their quest for the share of the profits, traveling to the planet Confluence, where the group were attacked by Tricons. At that point, she revealed that she had been a member of the DJD, knowing full well who all of them were, including Autobot turned Decepticon turned Autobot Grimlock. Surprisingly, the Dinobot came to her defense, but the team-building moment was ruined when Decepticon mastermind Scorponok appeared and casually deactivated his old foe. Captured and transported to Scorponok's World Sweeper, Nickel deduced that Grimlock was suffering from a form of aphasia, and that remaining in dinosaur mode restored his higher-ordered thinking. Together, the group planned to take Scorponok unawares by partially disassembling themselves, making it seem as though Grimlock's rampage resulted in their destruction, and the plan worked, as they rescued the Dinobot in the middle of Scorponok monologuing. Now faced with the full force of Scorponok and the mad scientist Flame's forces, salvation came in the form of yet another portal, this one leading to Grimlock's old cell at the Garrus 9 Penitentiary, or so it appeared. An indeterminate amount of time later, Nickel and the scavengers were freed from the sealed cell by none other than Autobot Nautica. Nautica was under the impression that she and the rest of Rodimus's group, now going by the title Crusadercons, were trapped in the Afterspark. It quickly became apparent that both groups were seeing two completely different things within the same physical space, meaning that it was a deliberate mental projection showing them what they wanted to see. It turned out that they were all aboard the ancient medical space station Maderi, constructed millennia ago by the Omega Guardians as a euthanasia ward. Telepathic organics on board read the minds of beings landing on the station and constructed a psychic representation of what they sought, so the terminally ill could die in peace with their greatest desires fulfilled. Unfortunately, further answers had to wait, as the merged groupings of Autobots and Decepticons came under attack by members of the Lost Light crew turned into Spark Eaters. They were saved, however, when Grimlock landed in the middle of the Spark Eaters and drove them off long enough for a separate group of Lost Light escapees to arrive, including First Aid, Wipeout, Riptide, and Thunderclash. It turned out that the transmat the scavengers had taken was set to Maderi, not Garrus 9, and Scorponok was seemingly in league with the ruler of Maderi, the Grand Architect. Although none of the scavengers nor Nickel knew anything about the Grand Architect, they acted suitably shocked. Eventually, it ended up that the whole group of enemies hunting the Autobots, Getaway, Tyrest, Starsaber, and now Scorponok, all worked for the Grand Architect, who was himself searching for the Magnificence that Nickel wore around her neck. After First Aid discovered that concussive maintenance could reverse the cybernetic virus that turned the Lost Light crew into Spark Eaters, Nickel and Velocity rigged a generator to send out a kinetic signal that would purge the virus from everyone on the station. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the generator overload had a chance to also kill all the organics on the station. So needless to say, Nickel pulled the switch without any hesitation. The organics survived, fortunately, or unfortunately. Later, everyone regrouped on the recaptured Lost Light as a geobomb went off in Maderi, pulling the entire planet and the ship into the Warren, an area of unstable dimensional pockets and speedways that provided shortcuts through the galaxy. They arrived in the Benzene Cluster, an area of space formerly held by the Galactic Council that was now under the control of the Black Box Consortia, and now also holding 5 recreations of ancient Cybertron to create what the architect called the God Gun. It turned out that the architect secretly infiltrated the Consortia, and their recent hostilities with the Galactic Council were all orchestrated to empty the Benzene Cluster so construction could proceed in secret. The Crusadercons and Scavengers ended up in a massive prison cell, with Freud and Sunder, new acolytes of the Architect, now prisoners because they attempted to read his mind under Scorponok's orders. Freud filled them in on the God Gun, while the Magnificents got increasingly chatty. It turned out that massive cosmic secrets were revealed. As the Magnificents forced Rung to transform, the Architect was revealed to be inhabiting the previously decapitated body of Pharma. The Architect was actually guiding hand member Adaptus. The threat he created the God Gun to destroy was an alternate dimension functionalist Cybertron transformed into Primus. Senseer was actually Mortalus. Tyrest was actually Solimus. The Magnificence was actually Epistemus, and Rung was Primus. These would be shocking to Nickel if she knew what anyone was talking about, or knew who half the people were, but she didn't, so she just acted nonchalant about it, while the others goggled. What followed that series of revelations was a god spat that led to a whole host of body-sharing antics, as Pharma's obsession with Ratchet and violence allowed Solimus Tyrest to kill Adaptus, while the latter skewered him with Pharma's chainsaw hand. With all of its cronies dead, the Magnificents attempted to cajole the group into destroying the functionalist Primus with photonic crystals created by Rung/Primus, but was quickly overruled when Megatron revealed that the functionalist construct still held all the living inhabitants of Cybertron. The sentient all-knowing orb didn't take that too well, and killed Freud, Sunder, and the turncoat functionary 9 of 12 before revealing that it was not Epistemus, but rather the trans-dimensional Omega Guardians communicating through his remains. They explained that a small crack existed in the benzene cluster connecting to their dimension, and that one of their number, aeons past, attempted to cross over, only for his corpse to form the Warren, a fourth-dimensional space connecting all time, space, and dimensions/realities. The Guardians believed that if they were to blow up the functionalist Cybertron, it would rip the hole between realities open and allow them to return in a haze of blood undreamt of in all the civilizations of the world, etc., etc. Thankfully, the group was spared further megalomaniacal bluster when Nickel, bored of the conversation before it began, crushed the Magnificents in her bare hands, ending the threat of the Omega Guardians. Team Rodimus / the Crusadercons, the Scavengers, the remaining crew of the Lost Light, Fortress Maximus, the new duly appointed enforcer of the Tyrest Accords, and his retinue of Red Alert, Cerebros, and the Roboids, and Flame leading the Infinites of Adaptus, first forced the functionalist Primus back into planet mode by hitting him in the back of the neck with Luna 1, then opened matrices at key points around the planet, flooding Vector Sigma with energy and obliterating the Functionalist Council. Nickel accompanied Riptide and Fulcrum to Allion, where they fought against functionaries until the Autobot among them managed to open their matrix during a particularly stirring speech by Rodimus. After that, she celebrated with a mixed crew and maybe got hit on by Roland. The Scavengers remained with the Autobots following the conflict, and Prowl's matter-of-fact declaration that the Lost Light be decommissioned and Megatron finally stand trial. She and the rest of their gathered retinue went on a final victory lap in the old ship before the Scavengers left for Troja Major to reunite Crankcase with his Dire Wraith love interest, Cons Forever. Unbeknownst to her, due to scientific wrangling by Brainstorm, Nautica, and Perceptor, a quantum duplicate was intentionally created on their final jump and shunted to an alternate reality, meaning that even as Nickel and the other ex-Decepticons left their new Autobot comrades, a version of them remained and continued their crazy adventures. Well, that was a lot, wasn't it? In any case, I hope that was informative to you. Thank you very much for joining me for this second in our Tarn Tuesdays. I'm really enjoying this series. I really enjoyed doing this, and I really like Tarn as a character. I think he's very interesting, and if he didn't exist, Autobot Megatron would be a lot less interesting. thank you very much for joining me for this impromptu review of Blokees Action Edition Tarn. Maybe I'll get him to stand upright and I'll do a revolving shot. But thank you very much for joining me. I've still got 2 more in our month of Tarn. So 2 more Tarn Tuesdays, so look forward to that. I hope that you enjoyed this for what it was. I really wish I would have been able to record more of the building process, but just it became impossible after a while. I will endeavor to do better if I pick up another Action Edition Blokees. I kind of hope that Blokees does an Autobot Megatron. I'd really love an Autobot Megatron, even if it doesn't transform. I mean, he didn't transform in the comics, so that wouldn't even matter to me. And I'm not going to shell out the price for the Flame Toys one. But in any case, if you like this content and you would like to see more of it, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel so that you'll know when a new video comes out or when we make posts or polls on our page. It really helps the channel and helps us get more excited about doing the things that we love to do for you. In any case, thank you very much for joining me. I have been Phantom. This has been The Shelves Have Eyes. Have a good day, y'all.
Transformers, defenders of truth, robots who